Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Obviously, since Raven is now back from their holiday break, we're going to see a lot of very frequent updates over the course of the next couple of weeks and all throughout the remainder of this content year, right? And over the past couple of days, we've seen some communication stemming from their socials already. They've talked a bit about the mid-season update. We know for a fact the Bren and the MP40 are going to receive some nerfs. Yesterday, though, they actually talked about something very interesting that is going to be controversial, to say the least. They basically touched more on how they're going to approach some future tuning to all weapons in the game, pretty much. That's going to honestly really change up how quite a few gunfights are approached, you could say. So as we go over it all today, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new to the channel or if you have not already subscribed, every single day I'm always going over everything going on in COD, between news, updates, loadouts, tips. I got you covered with literally everything, so feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. So if we head on over to Raven's Twitter, they initially tweeted this out. This was the whole initial tuning update that actually nerfed the double barrels a little bit, then also mentioned that we're going to see nerfs to the Bren and the MP40 here in the future, but overall the nerfs are going to be more incremental over time and not as drastic right away, right? So that was that, all fine and dandy. Now if we scroll down, we'll see Spiros, shout out to the homie John, actually responded to them saying, love the heads up on the incoming balancing, what you guys are trying to achieve. A while back, you guys mentioned wanting to increase the TTK through nerfs, etc. Has the goal been met yet, or can we expect to see other ways of raising it, i.e. more health, maybe similar to Iron Trials? And they actually responded to this, and we'll get into the responses here, but basically what Spiros is referencing here is a while back, still during the Cold War era, they mentioned they wanted to raise the overall TTK or increase the overall TTK and slow it down. That way you had more time to actually react in a gunfight. That's why we've seen some major nerfs to some of the fastest killing weapons in the game and saw a lot of nerfs to other weapons that necessarily weren't always meta, but they had a decent TTK, so that overall was being, slowed down quite a bit. So to this, they say, we feel that MW and Cold War weapons are in a fairly good spot. That in and of itself is a pretty important point to, focus on. This means that we're probably not going to see all that many changes to Cold War or Modern Warfare weapons over the course of the next several months, unless something drastically breaks and makes some Cold War MW weapon very good, or if for whatever reason everyone's just using, one specific weapon from Cold War and MW and it's not creating that diverse meta, then maybe we'll see some changes there, but it's unlikely we're going to see many changes to those weapons from this point on. They also say, similar to the Cold War integration, Vanguard weapons are going to need some time to receive adjustments necessary to nicely slot into the Warzone ecosystem, which is to be expected. You're never going to launch a game and introduce 40 new weapons and have every single one of them be perfectly balanced, right? We're going to continue to see tuning updates over the course of the next several seasons before we have that really ultimate diverse meta where you can use 20-30 weapons, I would say, is probably the ideal goal there. However, this tweet is then followed up with one that is very confusing, to say the least, because I've already read this like 5 different times, and every time I'm like, well, maybe they mean that, but then maybe they mean that. Let's read it first and then we'll discuss. They basically respond to their and follow up with their initial tweet saying, as mentioned before, we will be decreasing base ADS speeds across all titles. This confirms that Cold War, Modern Warfare, and Vanguard guns are going to have all their ADS speeds, their base ADS speeds, decreased. This will increase time to kill slightly, as ADS times should be considered when calculating practical TTK values. Additionally, it'll give us room to emphasize the differences between weapon classes, basically where, yes, an SMG's ADS should be noticeably better than an AR's ADS or an LMG's ADS, so on and so forth. But here's the thing. Their wording in this tweet could mean 2 different things. They are either going to make the ADS faster or they are going to make the ADS slower. This is where things are very confusing. We'll be decreasing base ADS speeds. So are they decreasing the number in which, 0 to 125 milliseconds is brought down to 0 to 90 milliseconds on the ADS speed? Or are they decreasing it in the fact that it's going to be slower now? You can sort of see where decreasing can mean 2 different things, making it faster or making it slower, which is kind of an important thing. The way that I want to read this is that they're going to make the ADS speeds faster. The way that the community seems to be reading this is that it's going to make the ADS speeds slower. Now, if we go and look at the first reply here, it's from Benny. Shout out to him as well. Great guy. This is going to make people camp and not move. Why would you risk a push and not just pre-aim constantly, as you're almost guaranteed to lose the fight? Now, Benny is basically interpreting this tweet as them saying, we're going to make all the ADS speeds slower on all weapons, and if they do that, they're basically trying to make the TTK a little bit slower because it's going to take longer to get your sights up and actually get shots on an enemy unless you're getting some lucky random hip fire, which hip fire is ridiculously accurate in Warzone as is. The thing though is, if that's the case, that would favor players camping and constantly having their sights raised in ADS, and you'd basically be punished for trying to push an enemy that has their sights up. Even if you're the better player, it'd come down to more so whoever's going to have their sights up first is going to land more shots and probably get that kill a whole lot easier. If you're trying to push a player who's got his sights up, who's camping in a window, and you're trying to slide up to him and then get your sights up in ADS, then if he's already got his sights up and ready, you're probably going to lose if they're slowing down the ADS times even more, right? So I could see how players would interpret this tweet as that and say, okay, that's not a good decision. On the contrary, if they're talking about decreasing ADS speeds and decreasing the time in which it takes to get from hip fire to aiming down sights and making it faster, that to me promotes a much more aggressive play style, which personally I feel like is the way to go about it. That to me would make things a lot more smooth and sort of increase the pace of play on Caldera, which, let's be real, versus Verdansk, Caldera definitely does play a little bit slower, and it also make fights, a little bit more interesting because it really would come down to then who has better aim, who's going to be able to track a player better if you have that faster ADS. It's not so much of who has their sights up first and who's playing relatively slow versus are they actually the better player just because they had their sights ready when the other player was trying to finesse them a little bit. I'm really hoping that they clarify more on what they're saying here, because the way that they've said this with the terms increasing and decreasing, because they can be interpreted in two different ways based off of how they've gone about patch notes and things in the past, it is hard to figure out exactly what their goal is here. They say that the Cold War Modern Warfare weapons are in a good spot because they don't need to be buffed or nerfed necessarily for damage values, but then they say they're going to change the ADS speeds on Cold War and Modern Warfare weapons and Vanguard weapons in a way. Could be slower, could be faster. It's hard to tell as of right now, but regardless, this would really change up how, guns play and how engagements work if SMGs definitively have way better ADS speeds than all rifles. Even if you build the Cooper to be that SMG AR hybrid, an MP40 or an Owen gun would always be beating that out in terms of an ADS. It'd give that advantage to that SMG in a lot of cases, so it could really drastically impact how you want to build a weapon and for what range you want to build that weapon for. So we're going to have to wait and see if they clarify anything. Hopefully they do. If they do, I'll be sure to keep you guys updated. I'll, mention it in a future video here on the channel. So stick it here for that and everything else going on in COD between the latest news, updates, best loadouts, best tips to be using. I got it all right here each and every single day. Make sure you're subscribed for all of that. And of course, if you enjoyed the video or if you're confused like me, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. But all that said, that is going to wrap things up for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.